Alessandro.
Tony.
Age?
42.
28.
Where are you from?
I'm from Rome in Italy.
Milano.
What do you do for a living?
Unfortunately, I'm unemployed.
I'm a CEO of a big company.
What games did you like to play when you were younger?
PlayStation.
Football.
How is the relationship with your family?
It's been hard in the last few years.
A person addicted to gambling is often very nervous, restless, and he usually lies to hide his addiction. These behaviors damage the relationships the addicted player has with family and friends. In fact, an addicted gambler usually prefers to spend as much time as possible playing, rather than stay with those who love him. The situation gets even worse when the pathological gambler starts asking his family and friends for money to keep playing even if he has already lost a lot.
My family has always been there for me.
At what age do you think children should have access to technology?
14 years old.
10.
What do you do in your free time?
Right now, I'm looking for a job and I'm taking part in re-educational meetings.
I do sport.
Could you tell us how much do you earn?
Actually, I receive a state subsidy, but also my parents help me
No,
How do you spend it?
to support myself.
I can tell you.
Let's be serious now. Are you single?
Yes.
I'm married.
Let's focus on you, Alessandro.
How did you approach gambling?
I used to play PlayStation when I was a child, and then when I was a teenager, I started betting and I had no limits.
The online gambling addiction is always thought to develop in adulthood, but actually only the 3.4% of players become addicted after the age of 30, while the 8% of them confess to have become addicted already in their early teens. The problem is that you always start just to understand what it feels like to play. Experts call this first phase informal play, because the player is not fully aware of what he is doing. Next, we move on to the problematic gambling phase, in which the player starts to play more and more frequently until he becomes addicted to gambling.
How much did gambling influence your relationships?
A lot. I lost all my friends and I found myself in debt with a lot of people. That's why everybody hates me.
Have you tried going to therapy?
Yes, I have been doing a rehabilitation for a few years now.
How do you feel sharing your experience?
It's difficult for me, but I hope that I could help others.
How do you feel while playing?
I forget about everything and I feel excited.
When a person becomes addicted to gambling, every time he gambles, the area of the brain called reward system is turned on. That is the area that releases dopamine and makes us feel pleasure. The pathological gambler gets into a loop, which can be summed up in 3 words: craving, trigger, and reward. Indeed, the player craves to play and his craving develops from a stimulus. Finally, after having played, he experiences a feeling of pleasure and gratification.
Did you realize you needed help?
Actually, yes, when my girlfriend broke up with me because I had spent all our savings.
What's the difference between online gambling and traditional gambling?
Well, in online gambling, you don't realize that you are wasting money because you can see physically the money.
Online gambling has increased the number of addicted players, who can nowadays play with slot machines or join a poker match staying comfortably at home.
What would you say to a younger guy?
That they can't make a life online because they should enjoy their time outside.
Find some goals and focus on achieving them.
Would the VU be proud of you now?
No.
Yes.
How do you see yourself in 10 years?
I really hope to find a job and someone who loves me.
Living in a nice house with my kids.
Are you pro or against gambling?
Certainly against.
Against.
Are you pro or against legalization of soft drugs?
Pro.
do you know that they can also be an addiction?
Pro.
Online gambling addiction is a progressive disease, but healing is not impossible. First of all, the player must realize and accept that he is addicted. Doing this will let him ask a psychiatrist and a psychologist for help. It is also important that he understands what drives him to play, and he must try to avoid creating triggering situations. For example, he shouldn't search for slot machine sites or bet on the outcome of a football team, etc. At this point, the pathological gambler must find a way to manage the anxiety and stress that come with abstinence. It's important to say that actually you never stop fighting addiction because there could be relapses. To avoid making the same mistakes, it would be good to get help from family and friends, whose support is essential.